All right, so welcome everybody to the Salesforce Lightning webinar. My name is Harry Rattenberg, and I'll do introductions in a second. But let me just walk through the quick agenda here. All right, so we're just going to do some quick introductions just to myself, and they'll be very fast. Most of this is going to be a live demo, so we're not really going to be walking through a PowerPoint much. We're going to go into some of the aspects of Lightning Experience, including customizable pages and all the new flexibility and cool stuff you can do with Lightning there. Activity management, leads and opportunities, a whole bunch of productivity enhancements, all the new Lightning reporting, and then a little bit of a peek at the admin side for the app builder. And then if we have time, we're going to go into Q&A as well, and I'll try to answer some of the questions that people have. So really quick, just getting into the introductions. So as I said, my name is Harry Rattenberg. I'm president of Gears CRM. So we're a gold partner based in Boston. We've been around almost 8 years. Personally, I've been doing Salesforce for almost 15 years now. So I've been doing Salesforce from before they even had formula fields. So this stuff, like with Lightning, is pretty exciting compared to where it was when I first started. And I get very much into all these different things, especially if you guys have read my blog. You can definitely tell that. So we're based in Boston, but we have regional practices in the Midwest and the Southwest as well. So we're pretty much in a couple different regions. 65 employees altogether, delivered over 600 projects with 350 customers, and we are 100% focused on Salesforce. So we are definitely a company of Salesforce geeks, and all we work on is Salesforce. So that's it for the introductions. Let's just get right into the demo here. So what we're going to start with is a individual user here, and I'm going to start showing some of the different functionality with Lightning. So quick background, I think everybody here knows, about 2 Dreamforces ago, Salesforce announced Lightning as, the new user interface experience for Salesforce. So, really like the UI is called Lightning Experience. The older one with the tabs and stuff, that's called Classic. So you're going to hear me referring to both of those. And, really Lightning Experience was, sort of the way forward for Salesforce to really change their look and feel. And they've been rolling this out over multiple releases, rolling out more and more features. And they started off with Sales Cloud. And, they've pretty much wrapped up most of the old functionality that worked in Classic. Almost all of that works in Lightning, with just a couple of exceptions, which we're going to talk about at the end. And with this last release, they started moving into the Service Cloud side. But one of the things that's became very apparent very quickly when Salesforce started rolling out Lightning is this really isn't just a UI. Salesforce is taking the opportunity to roll out a lot of productivity enhancements, a lot of new features in this. So when they go and update activities and make it work in Lightning, they're not just taking it verbatim of what was in Classic. They're making a lot of improvements to individual functionalities. And with each release, this gets stronger and stronger. And so basically starting in the last release with Winter 17, we have been advising all of our Sales Cloud clients that they should really be working in Lightning now. All of our new rollouts are in Lightning for Sales Cloud. And with Spring 17 that just came out in the beginning of February, this is even more apparent. I mean, this is loaded with different features that are in Lightning that only work in Lightning, that don't work in Classic. And before I start going into individual features, I mean, I think that's like sort of one of the big points here is that one of the major benefits of being a Salesforce customer is you get these releases 3 times a year, and we're talking 400, 500-page release notes, all packed with new features. On the Sales Cloud side, the majority of these new features require Lightning now, right? So this is the direction. It's not only the future is not where Salesforce is going; they're already there. And all of these new features on the Sales Cloud side, you can't take advantage of them if you're not starting to leverage Lightning. And those features are a big benefit of what we're paying for with our subscriptions to Salesforce, right? Like as part of that annual subscription, we're getting these 3 big releases each year. So you're sort of doing yourself a little bit of a disservice if you're not using Lightning and now not able to take advantage of all these features. So we're definitely advising all of our Sales Cloud customers to jump onto Lightning. And I'm going to start going through a bunch of the reasons why. One of the things that's going to jump out at you is there's not like any one killer feature here. It's just a whole slew of improvements and productivity gains and little enhancements all packed into the new UI. So it's really just a lot of different stuff aimed at sales guys to make them more productive, to allow them to work faster, and to just basically be a more intuitive interface. So let's start off with the pages. So one of the key new features here is that we have the Lightning App Builder, which is really allowing us to build more and more custom pages the way we would like to do them. So the old classic model, you obviously had the page layout designer, and you could drag and drop fields like you want, and you could add components in there, and maybe build a Visualforce component and add it as a section. But it was still sort of limited on what you could really do to the page unless you wanted to go full custom. With the App Builder, those days are sort of over, right? You can basically add in components wherever you want. You can mix and match the pages. You can start building out these custom pages to match to what you're trying to present to your customer, to your user, and to who your user is. And this goes for home pages as well as record pages. So this is an example right here of a home page for a sales user. And all of these sort of widgets that you're seeing here, these are basically different Lightning components. Everything I'm about to show on this demonstration today, everything is out of the box. These are all out-of-the-box components that have come out in previous releases and up until Spring 17. But you do have the option, if you wanted to build like a custom component, to be able to drop this in here, build a Lightning component of your own, and have it fit into this layout, right? So right here, I have my dashboard with quarterly performance. I'm going to go through a little bit of this when I get into the reporting. I have this cool component over here called the Assistant, and basically this Assistant, is sort of starting to pack in a little bit of that Einstein technology that they announced last Salesforce, where it's trying to intelligently tell your sales user what opportunities and what records may need some action, right? So here's an opportunity for Home Depot that has overdue tasks. So instead of making your salesperson go find these opportunities and go figure out that they have to go update this and that there's some overdue tasks in there, this is presenting it to them right here. The one right below for XPower, this is an opportunity that's closing pretty soon. It's closing on April 2nd, and I haven't logged an activity for 30 days. So as a sales user, that's a little bit weird if you have an opportunity that's supposed to be closing pretty soon, and why haven't you logged any kind of activity on that opportunity? So it's sort of like this Assistant is really adding some guidance, and it's an out-of-the-box component that you can add or take away. It's up to you. And I can definitely see this is going to be one of those things that Salesforce keeps adding to, right? More actions, more kind of alerts, and it sort of becomes like a little bit of like, when I log in as a sales user, here's all these actions that I need to go take care of. Going through some of the other standard components, the news component, this is an awesome one. So basically you have news that you can drop on the home page. I'm going to show you on an accounts page layout or an opportunity page layout. You can put that there as well. But basically this is telling me news that's happening at my most recent records. So the last bunch of records I looked at, so Home Depot was one of the last ones I looked at. Here's some of the news all about Home Depot. So when I log in, I'm getting news about my customers, about my accounts. Right away, things that I've looked at, things that clearly if I'm looking at them, I have interest in them. So you're getting some key news right about that. If I wanted to see more news, I can basically just click right here, and I'm driving into a section where I can see, a lot of news, of what's going on, with competitors like Lowe's, with other accounts that I've looked at, and that home page sort of shows a snippet. This is out of the box and free. You don't have to pay for this. Back in the day, you used to have to pay like OneSource, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get sort of like these kind of news analysis. This is actually embedded as part of Lightning now. So it's a great way to present information to your sales team. And then I have a couple other components really quick here. Mixing and matching. I have a related list. So this is one of the cool things. It's called like a filtered view, where I can basically build a view on any object and I can present that right on my homepage. So just as an example, we have, all right, here's a bunch of East Enterprise accounts. But if you have, different use cases, like maybe you have a POC custom object where proof of concepts, that are up for expiration, you can have that right here on your homepage. Or like, hey, these are the proof of concepts that are coming up, or orders that are delayed, right? Maybe tell your sales team, hey, your customers placed these orders and there's now some delays. You can present a view right there on their homepage of those out of the box just by basically building a view on the object and linking it to the component. So, again, all about surfacing data that your sales team needs. And then, everybody's, remember like today's tasks, that was in the classic component as well. Upcoming events, so what events are coming up, my recent items. I'm going to show when we go into the app builder, there's even more components you can do. But again, you can mix and match on these. And if I flip really quickly, here's an example of like sort of a manager's page, right, which is completely different. So this is more of a dashboard-driven one, where here I have two dashboard components. These are coming off of report charts. and I can show 2, I can show multiple. One of the really nice things about the Lightning homepage versus the old Classic homepage, I can double up my components. If I want to show 3 dashboards, I can. I don't have to sit there and be limited just to one of each type of component. So if you need more of those, like, filtered views, add everything that you need in here. And it's, here's my items to approve as well. So for a manager, I have some approvals that I want to be able to manage right from my homepage. Here's my assistant for me as a manager, right? So completely different homepage, lined up for a manager versus a salesperson. The key takeaway here is that you have a slew of out-of-the-box components. You're able to build home pages matched exactly to what your users want. By profile, you can assign that out to them and really present the data that they need in a way that you can't really have, do in Classic. We've got the same thing sort of on the records types, right? So if I go into the accounts and I click into Home Depot here, now I'm basically popping into a page layout. Obviously it looks very different than Classic. One of the things that this lets you do is, you're able to start mixing and matching page layouts based on the object, right? So this is sort of a big subtle improvement and a difference where, in Classic, pretty much the page layouts mostly look the same for each and every object. But objects, people go to different records and different objects for different reasons. So when I go look at an account, especially if you're a big Salesforce user, for the most part, your users aren't updating accounts on a regular basis. They're not going in there to go edit the details of an account. The account details don't change too much. What they're doing on an account is they're trying to see what's going on around the account, or they're trying to add information around, about related information about the account, opportunities, contacts, orders, assets. So when I go look at an account record, why do I go right to the details, which don't really change that much, right? Why not build a page layout that basically is all about what's going on at the account? So front and center, show me news about Home Depot. Show me my related information right up top. Why do I have to scroll down to the bottom or use the hovers to go see my related information? Let's put it right there, front and center. I have an activity timeline, which I'm going to talk about in a second. One of the other cool things you have here is across the top, we have a highlights panel. For those of you guys that know Service Cloud, this is like right out of the consoles, right? You get this nice highlights panel where, persistent, no matter where you're going around in here, you can see some key information about that account, even embedded in there with their logo. All that stuff is like, something that you can take away or add yourself. These are components that you get to build, right? So basically, when I show you the app builder, we dragged this, we wanted the highlights panel up top. We decided which actions to put up here. We decided to move these components here. You're building these page layouts. And then, we talk about all right, accounts, let's show what's going on around. Then on the flip side, you have opportunities, right? So with an opportunity, you usually are going to an opportunity to go update it, right? You're updating your stage, you're updating your next steps, you're showing what's going on. So why don't I just when I open up an opportunity, I'm going to bring this right to the details. So I'm going to be able to see my details here. I can, flip to related stuff right here and see what's going on. But the most important thing for opportunities are those details. So this lets you mix and match and really tailor your page layouts to each object and what you want your users to be able to see right out of the gate. Don't make your users hunt for this information. Show it to them as soon as they click onto it. So this is like a lot of flexibility that that we really didn't have in Classic, right? And it's getting better with each release. Each release comes out with new components that you can add in there, and again, you can build your own if you really wanted to. But there's so much you can do with these layouts to really tailor it to your users. So then, speaking of these components, one of the things that we want to show is sort of the activity side, right? So a lot of these components have done some serious improvements over the way they sort of behave in Classic. And so the first example of that is activities. So in the Classic, you had the 2 related lists, you had the open activities, and then you had the past history. They're just sort of down the bottom of the page, and you can see what was going on. With Lightning, you get this super cool activity timeline, right? And again, this is a component that you can drop onto any page or take off of the page. It's up to you where you present this. But I have like this timeline here of, okay, here's what's going on with this account. Here's here's my next steps, so the things that are about to happen, and and this one's actually overdue, which is why it's basically flagged red. And then here's all my past activity, right? And here's the different things that have happened in the past. And I can hover over these things and basically click right into them and see what's going on. Another cool thing is right from here I can actually filter these things, right? So If you have an account that's just got a ton going on, all right, maybe I just want to see the last 7 days or the next 7 days or the last 30 days. So pre-filtered buttons that your sales team can just basically click in and, basically, all right, let's just show me the last 30 days. And I can just see that I have this one type of activity here, right, or show all time. And then I can also pick and choose, all right, well, what type of activities do I want? Maybe I don't care about emails. Maybe there's a lot of activity happening from marketing that I just want to sort of like block out. I just want to see, what calls I logged, right? So you can just basically quickly filter that here. So, these are things that, is a little bit of a pain point for a sales user to do before. They had to basically, run a report or, sort of look through this big related list. Now it's all part of this, this timeline that you can drop onto any page. So when I go look at opportunities, you're going to see this. You're going to see this in contacts as well. So this timeline is really cool. Also from here, I can basically edit my activity, which is, pretty much a no-brainer. But then I can do sort of the key items that I'd want to do in an activity, right? So maybe on this one, since this one's overdue, it's because they pushed the meeting. I just want to change my date. So I select change date. The nice thing is you're not leaving the record that you're on. So I'm still on my Home Depot account, working all my records, working my activities. I'm managing my account, or, it could be an opportunity without even leaving the page, right? So basically I'm going to change this date. I'm going to push this thing out to a future date of, March 7th, and now, update that, and now it's going to update my timeline. And I never even left my page. I'm right back in here. One of the common complaints with Classic is that you're constantly clicking and back arrowing, forward arrowing. You go to create an activity or you go to send an email and you're leaving the page. And now you're on another screen to go type that stuff, right? With Lightning, as much as possible, Salesforce is trying to leave you on that record. It's subtle, but that's a big deal to your users. And then up here, I have, the ability to create my new activity. So just like the new button in Classic, you have this component here to go manage it. But this has some pretty cool stuff. So first of all, each type of activity you would do, so I'm logging a call or I want a new task, you can see that they're tailored. The little panel here is tailored to like that type of activity. An event has different fields that you would fill out than a task would. In addition, the email component is completely redone. So, no more the old sort of send an email button where you're brought to this whole different page. You now have an inline rich text editor that looks a lot more like Outlook or a lot more like Google, Gmail, where your users can basically send out these emails. So, again, for those of you guys familiar with Service Cloud, this is a lot like CaseFeed. They're like the email editor that's in CaseFeed, right? So you have this enhanced email editor where you can basically email the people. It has automatic lookup. So, if I started typing out someone here, it's automatically going to start suggesting contacts. So maybe I want to email Rick Stein. Then you have a rich text editor where you can do formatting, bolding, underlining. So much better than that old sort of static one. And you also get some other pretty cool bells and whistles, right? So really easy to sit there and attach the file. You can select where it's related to very simply, from here. You can, insert merge fields just like you would. Inserting a template's really easy, but then on top of that, your sales reps right from here can create their own templates. So they write this killer email that they want to be able to use over and over again. Right from here, they can just basically save it as a template. And then the other key thing is you can preview it, right? So all your changes, including merge fields, I didn't type out anything, which is why there's nothing to preview. But basically, you can preview your email and have that pop up and see what it looks like before you actually send. So some pretty cool widgets right inside the email editor. So we've gotten a lot of great feedback about, how much better that email editor is from sales users. Again, Service Cloud users have been using this in CaseFeed for a while, and, it's much, much better than the standard send an email. And again, to sort of save space, right in this component, now you have your chatter feed here as well, right? So, basically you can go in here and chatter sort of behaves the same way as it did before. But, you've got these sort of components and like this sort of activity component. And you can drag and drop. And if you didn't want chatter hidden sort of behind the scene, if you wanted chatter front and center, there's a chatter component that you'd be able to just drop into the page layout. So again, it's sort of up to you how you want to sort of mix and match these pages. All right, so then one last thing on sort of activity management that I just want to sort of cover really quick that's not really tied to the page layout. We just talked about all those activities. One of the cool things is that Tasks finally has its own tab. So if I click into here, it used to be before if I wanted to see my task, I had that little homepage component, and then I had to go to all my different records to go see it, or I had to go run a report to go see across multiple records. Now I have a My Tasks page, right, where I can see all my tasks. Here's what was due yesterday. Here's what's coming today. I can actually change my views for these. So if I only want to see stuff that's overdue, I basically flip that, and here's all my overdue tasks. So you actually have your own tab now. That sounds like a small thing, but that's definitely for a sales user. That's a big improvement to be able to go see all their stuff in one place. And then, really nice, as I click onto a task, it's refreshing right here on the right-hand panel. And again, I can edit this right from here. So, all about keeping you in one place. So like reducing those clicks, making it faster for the users. They're able to go manage all their tasks without even leaving this tab. So just start ripping through these things, updating them, and then adjusting statuses and all that type of stuff. So Task Tab is a big productivity gain that's tied to the activity management. All right. So that's sort of a big part of the that's a big part of sort of the different page layouts. And I'm going to show the app builder at the end. We're going to sort of show how we build out those pages. So you'll see some of these components, and I'll go into a little bit more there. But let's move on to some of the enhancements that we're seeing on sort of like more of like the pure sales stuff. So like the leads and opportunities. So if I go to the opportunities tab and I go into an opportunity, so I'm going to go into this Home Depot opportunity. First thing that's definitely jumping out at you if you're a classic user is this top component up here, right? So if I highlight that, here's a little bit more information. Salesforce calls this the path, right? So leads and opportunities have the same concept. So if I go click onto my leads and I go into this Adam Blitzer lead, I have the same thing here with my lead statuses across the top. So you'll see here, right across here, I'm on working, and I'm moving across here. So the whole benefit on these paths is it's meant to be a little bit more of a visual guide for your users of how am I progressing through my stages or my statuses. If I hover over these, you can see like, okay, I was on in proposal and quote for 106 days. I've been in negotiation for 7 days, and that's where I am now. And then you can modify these key fields here and really sort of by stage or by status if it's a lead, list out what the important fields are and a little bit of guidance here, so guidance for success. What are you supposed to do to progress this to that stage? So if I'm moving this opportunity into negotiation, I better have confirmed my decision makers. I better have offered a discount or other pricing incentives. And you get to update these as an administrator. You get to basically pull these through. So instead of having to have your users sort of hunt and pack across the opportunity layout to figure out, all right, I'm on negotiation, what do I need to do? You can sort of highlight these fields up here and basically put the important fields for each stage or status right there on the top, right? And then, when I'm working this, I'm going to set my, contract terms. So on this one, I'll say, all right, they're going with standard, and I'm going to mark this as complete. It's going to move over to close one because I'm completing this thing. And now, basically it's updating and it's going to go to there. So now you can see we were at 7 days there, and now I just closed one this, and I got a nice little success picture that I actually won this deal. And you can set this differently for each stage or status if it's a lead, and basically progress them through. So definitely a nice visual indicator there. That's also available in Salesforce One, so they see this the same if they're in mobile versus if they're on the opportunity itself. So that's one big gain. Second big thing, and this is across a lot of objects, but really for leads and opportunities, this is pretty big. So if I go into my opportunities view again, and I'm going to flip this thing to like my open opportunities, you have this Kanban view now, right? So instead of having, I'm already in it. So instead of having just like a static list of all my opportunities, now I can see my opportunities grouped up by what stage they're in, right? So here's my 5 qualification ones. And what's nice is it's doing some auto summaries for you, right? So before you can only get the stuff out of reporting, right? If you were in a list view, you couldn't tell how much, what the amount was for those opportunities or, for those records. And it's summarizing that for you here. So I have, 5 of them in qualification. I got 6 of them in needs analysis. Obviously, I have none in close one because I'm in an open opportunity. So you have like these cool views that show these tiles. And the nice things about these tiles is the same alerts that are in that assistant component I was talking about at the beginning. They're also here in this Kanban view, right? So right here, there's no open activities on this one. right? Or maybe there's an overdue one, right? So you need to take some action to keep this moving. So it's trying to give you some guidance. And again, I think that guidance is a lot of where Einstein's going to start to fit in, and you're going to see more and more type of guidance that are going to be plugged into here to really help your sales team progress these. Another cool feature out of this, and this is all list views, it's not necessarily just for opportunities, but I can also go and create a quick chart here, right? So I have all my opportunities. I want to see, all right, let's see these by stage, right? So here's my pipeline by stage, or maybe my pipeline by account, right? And it's grouping that up. So I'm able to see some like really quick charts about the view that I'm in, which gives me some summarizations and sort of some totals here of what this looks like. If I want to go to the grid instead of that Kanban view, I just select up here and I click that, and now I'm right back into the grid. The chart still stays. So it's really up to your user. They can flip between that Kanban and the grid view on their own. And it's a pretty cool little feature there. So now if I go back into that opportunity, and one of the things you're going to see here is pretty cool, is right on every single object here, I have recent items right there on the tab. So if I want to see what recent opportunities I looked at, I don't have to click into the tab anymore and play around with that home page. I can just do this little drop down and be like, okay, I want to go right into that Home Depot one, right? So this is on all of these. You'll see these little drop downs. I mean, this is, again, just saves your users a couple seconds there. I go into here. One of the other huge improvements, especially if you're a big opportunity products user, is the new products editor. So if I want to go add products or edit my products, I'll click here. You're now brought up to a new page where you can add these products, right? So one of the big complaints about the old add products in Classic is that if you were trying to add multiple or manage multiple products, you're sort of losing your context as you're doing each search. So now if I search for mower here, I can just search right in here. I see my different ones. Okay, I want this one as a product, all set. I haven't even left my page, right? So then I can, trimmer, look for more. All right, that's another product I wanted. All right, great. I'm adding these two products. I click next. It's bringing me through right here to that page where I sell two of these, one of these, and I'm not going to do any discounting. I click save, and now those two products are automatically added to my opportunity products here. If I wanted to edit this list, I just click in here, and I'm right back onto that page, where I can basically edit these. I can delete them if I want to, right? So you're basically brought to that screen where you can make these modifications. So a much better opportunity products editor. So if you're in an environment where you're for the most, especially if you're using products, and then you have multiple products that your sales team has to add per opportunity, this is a much better experience for them than what they're dealing with Classic. So that's another big one that you're going to want to look at there. And a big thing, like I was saying before, is that activity timeline. Obviously, activity management is huge for sales on opportunities and leads. So again, I was on an account before. Right here is my activity timeline. I can put it anywhere I want on this page layout. I can send an email from here. I can see my timeline. So all that cool activity management is right on any of these objects that you want. So so those are really some of like the critical updates, some of the big ones there on the opportunity and leads. Around that, we start to get to like a whole bunch of different like sort of productivity things, right? Like so sort of little updates that Salesforce has done that really makes a sales guy's life a little better, or salesperson's life. So the first thing is favorites. So just like you do when you're in a browser, you can now select favorites for different records, right? So this is right here. So I have a little drop down here that shows all my favorites, and this one that I'm on right now is one of my favorites. So if I unstar that, now it's not a favorite anymore, just like you would in your browser. Well, when I move off, I'll refresh. And then from here, I can add one right back, and it's basically all right. There it is. It's been added. I can edit my favorites. I can remove these as I go. So your users now can manage their own favorites, and this is persistent no matter where you are, right? So if I go to contacts, if I go into Chatter, that top bar is always there, and I can get into my top records, right? So a lot of people use their browser to do that now, but then your Salesforce records are sort of mixed in and out with your normal web bookmarks. So now you have your own favorites list that your sales team can manage, and you'll even see here it works for reports and dashboards. right? So right up there, I have my leadership report, I have my leadership dashboard, and I have my top records that I'm really tracking. So, pretty nice little update there that, that a lot of the sales users are going to like. I already talked about the recent items here. So this is a nice one where it really sort of condenses the recent items, lets you find those really quickly. Another cool one is notes. And this is a pretty big one for sales users too. So, a lot of sales users are using other tools like Evernote or, even like sort of Google Docs or, OneNote, basically, keeping track of their notes. Now you can basically do this right in Salesforce. So right now I don't really have any notes that I've looked at. I can click to all and I have a couple here, but if I wanted to just make a note for myself, I'd be like, okay, here's a note, my note, click save. And now, basically I have this note that's right here. I can even put activities against my notes. So if I needed to track stuff against it, I can relate it with records if I wanted to. So I can basically go from there. But on my notes tab, so basically here's my note, and you'd be able to see all your notes that you've taken. And so it's like a nice area. It doesn't have to be related to a record. It can be related to a record. So I go back to opportunities here, and I go to my Home Depot one. I'll show you sort of like the related list that just behaves sort of like the other related list. So these are sort of the notes just about this opportunity. So here's a note about Home Depot, and I can just create a new one right from here as well, and it pops up this little widget from a record. So Home Depot note 2. Right? So you can do it from the record, or you can just basically make mental notes for yourself of all right, I got to remember to go update my forecast and stuff like that, right? And so you see you have like a nice notes taking in there. You can run reports against this, or you can just click it right into your tab there. The other thing here is you have it, you can add it right as a little bit of a widget right down here in this tray bar. So it's actually called the utility bar, and it was a tray bar in the console. So one of the other enhancements is this utility bar that's across the bottom here. This is, again, something optional that you can add. You don't necessarily have to have it there, but just like the old service console, it's a cool place to put sort of different tools like notes, or here's my recent items, right, where I can basically pop up recent items that I've looked at. And this keeps that component there. It doesn't have to have it permanently on the left-hand side like in Classic. It's there when you need it. So I click on it and it pops up. You can add your own custom component to this as well. A really cool use case for that is like, flow. If you have, a couple of flows, to kick off an approval, or I want to go fill out a POC request, or I need to go escalate an order, or I need an order check, and you have a quick flow to do that, you can have those actions right there in the bottom of the bar. So it doesn't matter where they are in Salesforce. They can be looking at a report, they can be looking at an account. From wherever they are, they can go launch that flow and then basically fill out the what they're looking to do. So again, it keeps it persistent no matter where they are, and instead of having to make them go hunt and peck and go find that flow that you're trying to get them to do. So that's another pretty big one. Another one here is calendar. So this one is one of my personal favorites. So basically, you have a calendar object right in Lightning, and you can build out your own calendars, right? So right here, I have a calendar for upcoming opportunities. So here's my 2 upcoming opportunities for here. If I go flip into March, I now have another one here with that, and then you're also going to start seeing some marketing events, right? So marketing is running a nurture marketing campaign from Sunday to Friday. They have an industry trade show from Wednesday to Thursday. And then I have this opportunity coming on the 18th. So you can see multiple calendars. Up to the user to basically turn this off. So if I don't want to see marketing events anymore, I can just turn that off, and then it goes away, or I can bring it back. These calendars are super simple to add, and they can be on any object that has a date field. So if I'm basically like, all right, as a user, if I want a new calendar, I click here. It's going to basically pop up the wizard. And then, first thing you're going to do is go, all right, what are you trying to calendar? So let's just calendar opportunities again. So I'm going to look at my opportunity, or, go there, click next. And then it's like, all right, what field do you want to, what are we mapping here? Create a date, deal approved date, demo presentation. Do you want a calendar of your demos coming up? And then you have the choice here of going a start or an end. So stuff like a marketing campaign that stretches over multiple days, that would have an end date as well. But other stuff would just appear as a single day, like my demo day. You can apply filters based off of a view. So on that object, it's looking at all my list views that are on opportunity. So I can, create a list view that I'm trying to calendar out. And then, then basically, what do you want to have display on the, on the little calendar indication? So, name is typical. So I want my name, but you can also add other stuff into there. So this is something that any user can build out, and again, only in Lightning. And they can, sort of mix and match different calendars. So if I want to be able to, do a marketing calendar, I want multiple opportunity calendars. Maybe I want some order calendars of key orders that I care about and making sure they're going to ship, so I can follow up on them. I can build those types of calendars really quickly and have them all here on my calendar tab. So huge thing to sort of manage your your data in Salesforce. So then another piece here, and this is sort of the last of the big productivity stuff, and there's a bunch more, just can't cover them all. Last one is this chatter streams. So this one just came out in spring 17. This one's super cool. Where basically, if you have, if you're a salesperson and you have 10 opportunities that you really care about, like 10 opportunities and a couple of accounts where you just want to be able to track everything that's going on in those in one place. Instead of having to go manage different feeds or look at the big global chatter feed where there's lots of noise of stuff that you're not really presenting, you can now create a stream. And in that chatter stream, you can dictate, okay, I only want my top accounts. And you would select which accounts or which opportunities that you want to have in this stream. And when I go here, now this feed is just for the records that I selected or groups that I selected, and that's all that gets presented here, right? So if I want one of my top accounts, I don't want any other noise, I just want to know what's going on in my top accounts each day, I can create this stream, and then I have this filtered out chatter view of all the activity going on in those records. Every user can build up to 5 chatter streams of their own. It's not something an admin has to set up for them. Just like the calendar, they can build these on their own. So again, super cool productivity type of thing that your sales team would love to be able to do. All these things, not one is like a killer feature on its own, but all these things added up, this is a lot of cool tricks that your team can use to make themselves more productive and faster. So those are just some of the productivity stuff. Other thing I wanted to show really quick before we start going into the app builder is the reporting side. So reports really get a big update as part of Lightning, right? So if I click into sort of my sales leaderboard here, you have this whole new look and feel for reporting, especially for matrix and group by reports. It's so much easier to read. You've got the better color coding here, the summaries here of this summarizing up to $181,000. A lot easier to read, a lot easier to see what's going on. You have the summaries up top instead of having to scroll down to the bottom to see how many records or the total amount. So just a much better user interface for reporting. It looks great, has all the same functionality as the other one, as Classic. You can subscribe, you can basically chatter on it, but then also right from here you can quickly add a report, a chart, where you can customize this out. Very easy to go. All right, I want to do a pie chart. Oops, I hit an error on that one. Sorry. It's in my demo work. But, you can very quickly, add charts onto these things and sort of do it much more dynamically than you could before. On the dashboards, you get some pretty cool improvements. So going into the dashboards here. So first of all, just look and feel-wise, much crisper, much sharper, way more modernized, charts. And I know, look and feel isn't really necessarily a big thing to your users from a productivity standpoint, but these are much better looking charts than the old Gauge and those types of things. Basically, Salesforce took a lot of these components from the Wave platform and they've integrated into here. So, just a much crisper look and feel. One of the other cool things that's part of this is, right from any component, you have a zoom button where you can zoom into that dashboard itself, right? So in particular, if you have a dashboard with a lot of values, maybe you have 20 sales reps going across the bottom or 20 regions, you can have it on the dashboard and then zoom into it and see what's going on. You have the hovers right from there. You can share this from chatter right from here as well, or go into the view report to go see the view details that are behind it, right? So really slick UI there where, a lot about readability. And again, similar, you can follow the dashboard, you can subscribe to it to have it sent to you on a regular basis. You can collaborate on a dashboard feed, by clicking here, and then Chatter slides in. Not sure what that error is. I keep hitting there. Sorry about that. But overall, just much better interface there, and just really slick there from a dashboard standpoint. A couple of new dashboard types as well that came out in Spring 15 with like sort of a scatter chart. These are there's a couple of chart types that are not available in Classic that are available in Lightning. And again, it's just going to continue to go this way with each release that gets sent out, where they just keep adding more and more. All right, so that is sort of some of the key functionality there. I'm going to go into the app builder and sort of show you sort of the page, how you build out these pages and go through some of these components. Then we're going to sort of go into Q&A. So if I go here to another browser, very simple. In your setup, you just want to go to your Lightning app builder. That's basically how you build the pages. So I click here. And now I'm going to have my page list. So we were playing around a lot with the home page and the opportunity. So let's start with the home page here. So I'm going to click at it. And this is basically my home page layout, right? So it's built out. You're going to see my components. On the left-hand side, you have a list of all your standard components, right? So if I didn't want news for some reason, I basically just drag that out, and it's gone, right? So I can exit. And now it's off of that page layout. And then I can pull in other charts, right? Other components, sorry. So if I want like a chatter feed, I can pull that in and put it in, right under the assistant. And then basically it loads in, and it goes from there. I got rid of the news. Maybe I want the news, more in like a tiny sidebar versus, across the two columns. I just drag the news back in, and it goes from there, right? So these are all the sort of different, the page builder and how you can build this out. You can stretch these. So if I wanted to sort of expand this out, I could. That's what these arrows are for. The little circles are for, to make them bigger. And you can drag and drop these components. So right now, you have 17 different components to choose from, which is, I think quadruple what we could do in Classic, maybe triple. But, a lot more than we can do in Classic, right? And we have the assistant, which I already talked about, chatter feeds, chatter publishers. That filtered list is what's here, where you can look at different objects. And again, you can drag in multiple of these if you have different ones. Like flow, you can kick off right from an object. This is in beta, but it's super cool. Right from here, you can kick off a flow and go into the wizard. News, recent items, reports, rich text, today's task, so all these different things. And then, cool thing is you can even embed Wave into here. So if you are a Wave customer, it doesn't have to be a standard report. You can just drag and drop a Wave dashboard right into your page layout as well. So Wave is fully integrated into this. And then you can just drag in custom components as well. So we have some custom ones down here just to show it off. I'm not going to drag any of them in. But if you did want a Lightning component, like we have an RSS feed here, for example, you can drag that one in as well. Twitter, knowledge search, anything that you would want, you build a Lightning component, and then you can drag that in. So that is sort of the home page. And again, you have some other components on the page layouts, for the record details. So if I go back into my setup, and I go into, let's go into the account page, you're going to see a couple more components that are there just for the account, like the highlights panel, right? So that was that panel right across the top for Home Depot. I don't have to have it there. If you don't like the highlights panel, you can just get rid of it. Otherwise, you drag it through, and then you can modify what's there. So on the right-hand side here, you're seeing I click into this. This is where you're building it out and sort of describing what's there and where it goes. For each of these components, they could have other variables that you're doing. And so like news has no properties, but this highlights panel has a bunch, right, where you're able to modify what you want there. Related lists, that's only on records. Potential duplicates, so for leads and accounts or contacts, you can drop the duplicates wizard right onto the page layout, right? So more options in here, but again, some of the same type of stuff. Company hierarchy is cool, a super cool one that just came out in Spring 17. It's a flexible account hierarchy widget. The old account hierarchy in Classic, you couldn't really modify. The new one, you can actually mix and match which fields or images you want to appear in there. So all these cool things. And again, every release is coming out with more and more of these. You've got activities as well that you can drag into here. So more components there. But this is the builder. So if you're an admin, this is definitely not something to be intimidated with, right? You can build your page. For the page layouts, you have multiple templates. You can have a 3-column, a 2-column, a column with like a wide header, a column with no header. It's really up to you how you want to build out these pages. So something to really think about how you want to map out each object to each user type and really present that data in like a super productive way. So that's sort of the admin sneak peek. Just to circle back, part of the whole thing that we're talking about here is, if you're a sales user, really Lightning is all set. All the features have come out. Really, these are the only considerations that you have to worry about now from a sales standpoint. Customizable forecasting is probably the single biggest remaining feature that doesn't work in Lightning, right? So if you are using the standard out-of-the-box customizable forecasting, that will not work in Lightning. So, you're probably going to want to stay in Classic or have your users flip back and forth for that. And keep in mind, in case you don't realize, if you do use Lightning, your users can flip back and forth very simply, right? It's part of their top navigation. They can just go right into Classic, do what they need to do there, and then they can flip back into Lightning if they have to, right? So customizable forecasting is probably the one, larger remaining feature. If you use orders, there's a couple of things in orders that don't work, like cloning an order with products. You can't see order history, order product history. There's no reduction orders. But, that's definitely not a bigger feature that everybody's using, so that's a, fairly minor one. Content is also, from a viewing standpoint, content's all set in Lightning. From a maintaining content and updating content, it's still not 100% ready in Lightning yet, right? So if you're a content manager and you're publishing content, you're adding content on a regular basis, you will need to flip back and forth between Classic and content. But your typical sales users are not adding content to libraries, right? So from like a sales user standpoint, that's really not not one that's going to hit them. But that's really the biggest consideration. Outside of that, the other big thing you have to consider is if you've built Visualforce and you have inline Visualforce components right in your page layouts, you're going to want to look at converting those into Lightning components, right? And basically building out a Lightning component wrapper and having that just drop in there. But that's it's not a lot of work, but it's something you're going to want to do before you go and flip over to Lightning. One of the best things about the Lightning rollout that Salesforce has been doing, in a full disclosure type of mode, is they have this great document here that shows what you do need to consider, right? So right here, here are the Lightning considerations as of Spring 17. They update this with every release. If you are going to turn this on for sales, here's the stuff you have to worry about, right? So collaborative forecasts, orders, basically, same stuff we just talked about. There's a few different things here that you just want to look at, but they keep this up to date. This list is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and now we're moving into the Service Cloud stuff. So something, as an administrator, you're definitely going to want to take a look at before you go try to tackle this and roll it out for your sales users. But to summarize here, for the most part, all the features are for Sales Cloud are now available in Lightning, and they've been drastically improved. Just like I said, I just scratched the surface of a lot of those features. There's even more, but the big part here is this is only going to continue, right? So when Summer 17 comes out in July, we're going to get a whole slew of new sales features, productivity stuff, your sales users' lives better, and that's only going to work in Lightning. So the longer you go without cutting over to Lightning, you're basically restricting yourself from more and more features that your users could be benefiting from. And that's, that really is one of the biggest reasons we're recommending, for Sales Cloud, start moving over to Lightning. And, we're watching Service Cloud as it goes. It just started, with some big releases in spring. Knowledge now has a Lightning version, and the Service Console has a Lightning version. But those are pretty limited just to start. And, they're going to be, there's a whole roadmap to pile on all the functionality into there. And we're keeping an eye there. But, for Sales Cloud, definitely something you're going to want to consider and start figuring out how you're going to cut over. All right, let's start looking at some of the questions. We got about 10 minutes to go. All right, so the first question is, does a drag and drop chart apply to things beyond opportunities? So let me go to this home page really quick. This quarterly performance chart right here, this is actually an out-of-the-box component on its own, strictly around opportunities. It's around like quarterly performance. Right from here, you can basically, set your own goal. So if my goal was 400,000, I would just set that. So it's sort of like an out-of-the-box sales component that you can or can't use if it's up to you if you want to use it. But at the same time, going back to my manager's view, you can also add in your own report charts. So you don't have to use the out-of-the-box quarterly performance chart. If you have a report that you want to display there as well, whatever object it is, you're able to drag and drop those report charts right into here. So it doesn't have to be for opportunities. It could be for any report that you have. And you would just use a report chart component instead of that quarterly chart component, which is one of the out-of-the-box sort of special charts that are happening. And I think, that's sort of something Salesforce is doing too, is like, as they think of like, very cool use cases for charts and stuff, they're making them like standard components that you would have in your toolkit, right? So you can add those. And again, if you're a Wave user, you can also drag in Wave dashboards right into here instead of having to use report charts. All right, so that's the first one. Can we sort the opportunity, products, and related lists? So yes, so let me just show that really quick. So if I go back to the opportunity, that is one of the cool things. It is sortable. So if I go into the products, so on the related list itself, no, if that's what you meant, just to verify that. But on here, you can sort. So when you're doing your choosing of the products, you can basically, as you're trying to find them, you can sort off of any column that's in here, right? So like, the search results, the product finder, fully sortable on any column, sending and descending, really helps your sales reps find those products a lot easier than they could before. Next question is, can calendars be shared? So, so far, it doesn't seem like there's a way to share them. That was one of the first things I jumped on as well. I got very excited about the calendars in our own org. We actually track people's vacation times in our instance. Obviously, as Salesforce consultants, we use the heck out of Salesforce. So I thought we could, share all these sort of calendars about people's vacation times. So far, there isn't really any kind of sharing rules on those. I have to assume that's like a roadmap thing that's going to be added in there, but I haven't heard for sure. But right now, you can't share those. Let's see. So then, does the URL still work as a link to the record, or is it more like the Service Console now? So good question. So if I go into this opportunity here, this is to this ID. So it is a different URL. So you're going to notice the string is a little different. Like it doesn't really look the way the classic one did, but that unique ID is still here. So if I go and grab this and open up a different tab and drop that in, I'm going to go to this record directly and basically open it up. So you still can share the URLs. It's not like you have to go into that sort of widget like in the Service Console to go find the URL. These records do have their own unique URLs. Early on, one of the problems that Lightning sort of had that people were complaining about was you weren't able to like right-click and sort of open up in another tab. So that actually got fixed a couple of releases ago. So it does behave like a normal browser where if I want to open this up in another tab, I basically can just go right-click this or right-click that, and then this is basically right here in that tab. So URLs work, right-clicking, opening up different windows, all that stuff works just like in Classic. All right, and the next question here. Hold on, I lost my question somehow. All right, I think that might be it for the questions because suddenly they disappeared. If I missed the question, and I know there was a few others in there, what we'll do is we'll answer those and post it on our blog post with the recording so that we'll get an answer for all those questions. I'm not sure how they just all disappeared on me, but they're gone. But they're definitely saved as part of the GoToWebinar. So we'll get those answered, and we're also going to post the recording. So that's pretty much the end of the webinar. Thank you everybody for attending. As I mentioned, we're going to be posting this up within the next day, and then we'll get some answers to the other questions that were posted as well, just to be able to help everybody out. Thanks again for attending. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. From gearcrm.com, ask any questions or comment on the recording. We're definitely happy to help out. And thanks again for attending. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you.